Welcome, Jayne. Welcome to Australia, and I believe you're from the University of Guelph in Canada, and you've been doing extensive work on the GPT, GlutoPeak tester, and I believe you've also been doing quite a lot of work in relation to baking volumes with different flours, mainly Canadian flours. Just tell me a little bit about the machine and your findings, if you could.
So we've been using this primarily in terms of wheat breeding, trying to use small sample sizes from earlier generations of breeding. We managed to develop a protocol where we can differentiate all the Canadian flours in the Canadian market. So everything from a soft wheat to a hard wheat, durum wheat as well, both in a whole grain and a refined format. And so the breeder can then look at the GlutoPeak results, make comparisons amongst all their experimental lines and decide which germplasm to carry forward for further testing and which to drop from their testing. In terms of predicting product quality, we've been using a slightly different protocol, but having good results in terms of using both the time and the torque to predict specific volume for bread baking, with the Canadian hard red springs and the hard red winters as well.
How do you feel that that the machine will be accepted in the industry? Have you had a lot of interest from the industry in regards to your research?
Certainly we've had a lot of interest, especially because it's a very rapid method. We're looking at differentiating flours within a 5-minute test time with the protocol we use. Obviously you need to adjust the protocol for the specific geographical region that you're in, but certainly from flour millers, bakers, wheat breeders, across the market value chain, there's been a lot of interest because it's a rapid method. It doesn't require a very large sample size, and the cleanup is exceptionally quick and easy. So you can put many more samples through in a given day with this instrument compared to some of the other standard methods that we tend to use.
What sort of typical sample size have you been finding was working the optimum, getting the optimum results for you?
So we've been using roughly 8 grams of flour with our testing. You can back that down a little bit, or you can increase it as necessary depending on what your needs are, but roughly 8 grams of flour, and to that we add roughly 9 or 10 grams of water or solvent.
Right, and when we're looking at a result and we're looking at a graph, typically what we've seen here on this demo that we've done today, how would you interpret that graph?
So when you look at this, you can look at the time that it takes to achieve the peak, and then you can look at the torque that's achieved. And so when you're working with a hard wheat flour, you would expect to see a greater torque, and you would expect this time to peak to be much shorter than a soft wheat. When you're looking at the actual curve form itself, this is a relatively broad peak in terms of GlutoPeak results. So when you see a broad peak like this, it indicates it's a very strong wheat. In this case, we were working with a strong hard wheat. So the broadness or the width of the curve will give you an indicator in terms of strength of that particular flour, in terms of its functionality and baking properties.
When you're actually running the test here on the GlutoPeak, and you're actually looking at the graphs and it's coming along, is there any indication from the machine that you know that it's going to start to aggregate and actually going to start to form a peak?
Yes, actually. When you're running the instrument and it's in the middle of a test, you'll know that the peak is coming because the sound actually changes from the instrument. It becomes much louder. It almost sounds like boiling water. So when you hear that sound, you know that the peak is coming out, and you'll see it plot on the curve as well.
Fantastic. Look, I really appreciate your time today, and thank you for coming out to Australia, and I look forward to your talk and getting more information.
All right. Thank you, Jurgen.